So we started discussing grievance redressals and complaints from data principles under Indian DPDP Act 2023 in our last video. In this video, we are going to talk about the role of the data fiduciary, the person who is responsible for processing the data in the grievance redressal system. What is his role? How does he come into picture, and what all he can do to ensure smoothness? Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy. And as I said, we are going to talk about data fiduciary's role in grievance redressal today. What is data fiduciary? Data fiduciary is the individual or the organization who is responsible for processing your personal information. He would define the purpose, he would define the mechanism, he might get it processed from outside, which is defined as data processor, or he may process it internally and be a processor himself. But he is the one who is responsible for processing by Indian DPDP Act, collection, storage, usage, disclosure to third party, and deletion of personal information is overall called processing personal information, right? So any organization who does any of these five things with the information of individuals is a data fiduciary. And if it is sensitive data or it's a very high volume data, then they are also referred to as significant data fiduciary. Making it a mandate for them to have a DPO who is supposed to be based in India and certain other things, right? So but definitely does qualify for the basics of fiduciary. He owns anything that happens with the personal data collected on his behalf, whether it's only fiduciary or significant fiduciary. So then we talk about what are the responsibilities of a fiduciary when it comes to grievance redressal. So first and foremost, he has to define a mechanism where people can submit their grievance. If someone is not happy with consent, for example, he provided consent for something else, you have processed it in some other way. If someone wants to access their rights. So for all these things, there has to be a mechanism defined by the fiduciary, and it is not only that they have to define this mechanism, they also have to advertise or popularize this mechanism. Your privacy notices, your consent forms, your company's website, they should have links to put in the grievance if any grievance is there, so that the data principal should feel confident that they are ready to accept anything if anything goes wrong. It should not be that there is no grievance system here, so we don't know what is going to happen with our data. You might still be correct, but because you don't have a properly announced system available, people may not have confidence in you. So you receive complaints, acknowledge that you have received the complaint and start working on it immediately. You need to conduct a detailed investigation. Why do they have problem with their data? Who collected the information? Is it correct? Is it bad? How can that be rectified? And then respond back to them on the complaint, satisfy them. Just try and make sure that they are fully satisfied and their issue is resolved. So you should take the issue from creation to the resolution through the feedback mechanism. What are the challenges a fiduciary could possibly face with grievance, but they still have to have a grievance mechanism, right? Monitoring the complaint handling system, and there could be many complaints, huge number of complaints, depending on the kind of processing, depending on the kind of data you have. And if you are going to have huge number of complaints, one possible reason for that is lack of streamlined internal processes. Your processes are not good. Since your processes are not good, you are getting more complaints. You have not been able to balance legal and operational obligations. A fiduciary, a DPO is too busy handling compliances without realizing that answering to a grievance in itself is a part of compliance, right? They are therefore not able to ensure data principal satisfaction. It's a challenge. It's not an easy job. Not everyone, there could be very, very small examples. Someone wants their address to be changed, but you can't change. Why? Because there is a legal litigation on that project. And the moment you disclose that to the principal may further get confused as to, how do I handle it? Maybe you have taken a consent and you have not recorded it in a proper form. Now a principal comes back to you and says, with whose permission you process this data, and you are confused and you don't have the appropriate documents to share, right? So you need to satisfy them to ensure that they don't go to data protection board and you don't get penalized. So there could be many such very, very large operational things. And as I said before, you have to create a balance between the legal things and the operational things. You have to ensure that you are following up the data protection board's directives while handling the complaints, and you have to mitigate with those principles. You would prefer to get mediation done at your level instead of getting involved with the board to get the basic mediation done. Rectify those errors. Rectifying errors may not also be very easy. A database has records. How would you mark the record for which consent has been withdrawn? How would you change the address? That should ideally be very easy if there's no legal issue with it, but still it needs effort, right? So, and maybe it needs more time because of larger number of complaints. So what are the best practices a fiduciary should follow? He should have a good chatbot based functional ticketing system when he receives a grievance. There could be multiple sources, right? It could be a phone call, it could be a privacy notice link, it could be a consent management form link, anything. But that has to be a centralized repository where you receive the complaint, you have a proper ticketing number, your staff is well trained, workshops are done, both the processing staff as well as the complaint handling staff, so that the messaging to the world is the same. People don't get confused when they talk to different people. And you should regularly validate the quality of data you have. The better the quality, the lesser the number of complaints you'll get, at least the lesser number of complaints you'll get with respect to the data subject rights, right? So if you have a good quality, you would have less chances of change my address, change my phone number kind. And you should use every complaint as a learning tool so that you update your systems very, very regularly, apart from conducting DPIAs. Even DPIA is one thing and resolution of a complaint is another thing. They both should become an exercise so that your processes are improvised and the chances of getting complaints gets further reduced. So that's about the key role of a data fiduciary when it comes to handling grievance redressal for the various complaints it might receive from a data principal. I hope you like the content of the video. Please press the bell and the like icon. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.